Welcome back to another monthly portfolio update. If you are stopping by for the first time, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. In this video, I will share with you how much I invested in March, the number of shares that I bought, and the value of my portfolio at the end of March. But as always, before I continue, a quick disclaimer. The information that I'm sharing is not financial advice. Before you invest in anything, please do your own research and make sure that you only invest in things that you understand. With that being said, I will dive right into my portfolio update. I will start with a quick recap of my February portfolio to show you the value of the portfolio and the number of shares that I had before the beginning of March. The total equity of my portfolio at the end of February was $42,796.89. $42,244.32 was the market value of my investments, and $552.57 was a cash amount. At the end of February, my portfolio was up $1,105.33, and this was plus 2.69%. These are my holdings: 2 Vanguard ETFs and the 2 BlackRock ETFs. The first Vanguard ETF is VCN. This ETF tracks the entire Canadian market, and I had 66 shares of VCN at the end of February. The second Vanguard ETF is VFV. This is an S&P 500 index ETF, the Canadian version of VOO, and I had 226 shares of VFV at the end of February. The first BlackRock ETF is XEQT. This is an all-in-one equity ETF which holds Canadian equities, US equities, developed market equities other than US and Canada, and emerging market equities. If you want to hold a single ETF which is well diversified, you may consider looking into XEQT. Actually, I did a video on XEQT a while back. If you want, you can take a look at it. And I had 354 shares of XEQT at the end of February. The second BlackRock ETF is XUU. This is a US total stock market ETF, and I had 200 shares of XUU at the end of February. I will now show you how much I invested in March and the number of shares that I bought. I bought 4 shares of VCN. The cost per share was $39.57. The total cost, $158.26. And this is 13% of the total amount that I invested in March. I bought 4 shares of VFV. The cost per share was $97.45. The total cost, $389.78. And this is 32% of the amount that I invested in March. I bought 14 shares of XEQT. The cost per share was $25.15. The total cost, $352.05. And this is 29% of the amount that I invested in March. I bought 8 shares of XUU. The cost per share was $40.41. The total cost, $323.25. And this is 26% of the amount that I invested in March. In total, I bought 30 shares, all the ETFs combined, in March. And the total amount that I invested was $1,223.34. This is $108 less than the amount that I invested in February. As you can see here quickly, in February, I invested $1,331.35. And in March, $1,223.34. The difference is $108.01. I will now show you the value of my portfolio at the end of March and the number of shares that I had. The total equity of my portfolio at the end of March was $43,545.01. $43,473.68 was the market value of my investments, and $71.33 was a cash amount. At the end of March, my portfolio was up $1,111.35. This is a plus 2.62%. As of March the 31st, I had 70 shares of VCN, 230 shares of VFV, 368 shares of XEQT, and 208 shares of XUU. All right, let's now take a look at some quick details about each of the positions. I will start with VCN. The closing market price on March the 31st was $40.64. The quantity of shares that I had, 70. The average price, $40.29. The book value, $2,820.72. This is how much I have invested in a VCN. The market value was $2,844.80. This is 6.53% of my portfolio. With a VCN, I was up 0.85% or $24.08. Next, we have VFV. The closing market price on March the 31st was $98.44. The quantity of shares that I had, 230. The average price, $95.38. The book value, $21,938.88. The market value was $22,641.20. This is almost 52% of my portfolio. With VFV, I was up 3.20% or $702.32. Then we have XEQT. The closing market price on March the 31st was $25.57. The quantity of shares that I had, 368. The average price, $25.01. The book value, $9,205.82. The market value was $9,409.76. This is 21.61% of my portfolio. With XEQT, I was up 2.22% or $203.94. Finally, we have XUU. The closing market price on March the 31st was $41.24. The quantity of shares that I had, 208. The average price, $40.36. The book value, $8,396.91. The market value was $8,577.92. And this was 19.70% of my portfolio. With XOU, I was up 2.16% or $181.01. Well, the first quarter of 2023 is over, and the stock market has been quite resilient so far, even though in March we saw the failure of two US banks, Silicon Valley Bank and the Signature Bank, and the near collapse of Credit Suisse, which ended up being bought quickly by its rival UBS under the guidance of the Swiss authorities. I think the US regulators, including the Federal Reserve, the FDIC, and the Treasury Department kind of bailed the financial system as they took some extraordinary measures swiftly and announced that all the Silicon Valley Bank depositors would get back all their money, not just up to the maximum of $250,000 insured by the FDIC. They took this action to reassure the financial system and to prevent the crisis that started with Silicon Valley Bank from spreading to other banks and across the economy. Their actions seem to have brought some calmness to the financial system, at least for the time being, but still too soon to know if we have avoided a major financial crisis. Anyway, we'll see how things work out the coming weeks and months. All right, feel free to leave a comment below. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace out.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign.